Alright, so this is going to be a low production quality video. You don't get to see me on the screen, just hear my voice, but basically I'm going to run through the practice test from the safety course. Some people have asked for this, so I will show you me doing the test, and we'll see if I get all the answers right. So, starting with question number 1. Now, this does a couple random questions here. So your answers the questions you got might not be exactly the same as what I get, but we'll see how that goes. Also, I started this timer running a few minutes ago, so I'm probably like 10 minutes into the test right now. So we'll see how I do. So let's see. I'm going to start over here with A. Getting pinned between robot arm and safety fence. That is a crush. Cigarette smoking. I'm going to say that that is a hazard. Whoops. The chance of getting lung cancer from cigarette smoking. So, chance of, that is a good indication that this is a risk. So that is C. That mentions the possibility, a hazard, and the injury from the hazard, or the adverse health effect from the hazard. Getting your pant leg caught in your bike chain. That is a chain going around a pulley or a sprocket, so that is the draw in or nip point. Developing back problems from lifting awkwardly at your job for 5 years. We have a long time period here, so that is going to indicate a chronic health effect. Something that is chronic over a period of time. Getting your fingers caught under a pinch press die. That is going to be a shear. So that would be like a cutting motion. That would be a shear. Getting hit by a fast moving robot arm. So getting hit by something moving fast and heavy, and you are a stationary object but you're not getting pinned against something, that is an impact. Lung cancer. Lung cancer is an adverse health effect. Up here in C, we talked about the chance of getting lung cancer from cigarette smoking. That is a risk. Lung cancer itself is the adverse health effect. Getting your hair caught in a running drill press. That is an entanglement. So I is going to be entanglement. Getting your fingers caught under the needle of a sewing machine. That's going to be a puncture. Cutting your finger and feeling it right away. So right away versus 5 years. So right away indicates acute. And the last one, touching a spinning grinding wheel. Grinding, that means abrasion. So L is abrasion. So let's move on. What statement best describes safety circuit shown below? This is a simple safety circuit with multiple points of failure. Cannot be used for safety control. That is false. 4 relays used in this circuit. That is false. There is only 1 relay used in this circuit, CR1. Circuit uses a normally open e-stop and normally closed start. It's actually normally closed stop and normally open start. So this first one here is the correct answer. Simple safety circuit with multiple points of failure. Tags on the safety shoe mean, so the green triangle, white square, that means puncture resistant sole, cap with puncture resistant, steel toe cap with puncture resistant sole, and electrical protection. That's the correct answer for that one. Which statement best describes the devices shown below? This is a relay with one normally open contact. So that's your coil, that's your contact. That contact is normally open. That is the correct answer. Worker bakes cookies in an industrial oven. The oven bakes at 375 degrees. Lowering the temperature that the cookies bake at to 100 degrees while keeping all other factors the same would be an example of. So that's going to go from 375 to 100. That changes the degree, the severity of the burn you would get from that. So this lowers the risk by changing the severity of the injury. It doesn't do anything about avoidance, doesn't do anything about frequency of exposure. It's not a form of PPE. Changes the severity of the injury because that's a lower temperature. You're not going to burn yourself as severely. That is severity of the injury. Alright, these are definitions. So same list as before, but now we're actually in the true definitions. Affected is felt right away. Is acute. Relatively smooth surface causing a burn or scrape. That is a friction or abrasion. Blunt force against inertia of the body. That is going to be an impact. Source of potential damage, adverse harm, or adverse health effect. That should be a hazard. One part of a machine moving against another with a body in between. I think that is a shear. Any change in body function in the structure of cells, that is adverse health effect. To cut or force apart. I like that one for shear better. Penetrated by a sharp object is a puncture. Effect that is delayed or felt over time. That is chronic. Combination of the probability of severity, that's going to be risk. Develop when two parts move together, at least one moves in a rotary circular motion. That is going to be the nip in or draw, nip point or draw in. Contact with single rotating surface of pulls and projections, that is entanglement. Now let's go back to this one here. One part moving against another with body in between. That's the crush. Five actual safety rules you need in the lab. You have to have long pants. You need CSA safety glasses and safety shoes. Don't have to wear hearing protection. Keep your bags with you at all times. Nope, there's a special area for those. You must be wearing a safety vest. No, that's not true. No short sleeve shirts, or actually preferred to wear short sleeve shirts. No long sleeves. Can't be wearing headphones. That is true. Can't wear things around your neck. That is true. You must be wearing a hard hat. You do not need to wear a hard hat. Can't wear rings or watches. So we're baking at 375 degrees, giving the worker a big pair of oven mitts. That is risk reduction by PPE. Best describes redundancy. Calling your mom once you arrive. Being able to fill out a survey without giving your name. Having to use a password every time you log into a computer. How about taking two flashlights with you when you're on a camping trip in case one fails? That is basically redundancy. In case one fails, you have a backup. That is redundancy. For the lab, you will need CSA approved safety shoes and CSA approved safety glasses. Adding devices to prevent the oven door from opening until the oven cools down would be an example of, that would be an engineering control. So we're actually adding something there to prevent the hazard. Okay, so that would be an engineering control. Worker needs to feed parts into a punch press. No current safety measures. Punch press is capable of cutting off fingers. Press makes 10 parts per minute. This best describes the risk. So we're going to call that serious, frequent, because we're 10 parts a minute. So that's a every cycle type thing. Avoidance. I'm going to say not likely because you actually have to reach in there and grab the parts. So this is basically be the highest risk we have here. So we're going to say serious, frequent, and not likely means high risk. Worker bakes cookies in an industrial oven. Oven bakes at 375, 12 cookies in a batch. Cookies are chocolate. Cookies bake every 10 minutes. Which machine limits are relevant to the task, the risk assessment? So 375 and 10 minutes. This gives you an idea of the severity of the injury, the 375. 10 minutes gives you an idea of the frequency. 10 minutes and 12 in a batch. 12 in a batch doesn't really tell you anything. And chocolate doesn't tell you anything. So this is the relevant one. Placing a sign on the oven that says caution hot, that is an example of awareness means. Using signs, using lights, things like that, that is awareness means. If a risk is deemed to be a serious injury, frequent exposure, and unlikely to be avoided, what's best describes its level of risk? This one we should have had the chart with it. Serious, frequent, and unlikely, that is high. Putting a hard hat and safety glasses is an example of PPE. Which of the following is not an important factor to consider when doing a risk assessment on a piece of automation? Cycle time is important. That tells you about frequency. Temperature could tell you about severity. Machine speed could tell you about severity as well. Machine cost, not relevant to safety. Most effective method of risk reduction. Elimination substitution, most effective. PPE, least effective. The least effective method of risk reduction is PPE. Just said that in the last question. Replacing a human operation with a robot is an example of elimination or substitution. So substituting a robot for a human is substitution. We're going to save and submit. How did I do? I got 20 out of 20. Yay. Alright, so that is that test done. So that is a good example of going through the test. So I have opened this up to do multiple attempts now, so you could try doing the test again if you like. I'm going to try one thing here. Okay, so that is it. That is going through the test